Imagine a country that the world once misunderstood, a nation often defined by its struggles, yet quietly building its strength behind the scenes. A land standing at the crossroads of continents, energy routes, and digital revolutions. Now, in 2025, that country is no longer asking for recognition, it is earning it. Ladies and gentlemen, today we talk about Pakistan not as a story of crisis, but as a story of rediscovery. The world's power brokers from Washington to Brussels, from Beijing to Riyadh, are looking again, not because Pakistan demanded attention, but because it created value that cannot be ignored. This is not a tale of politics or propaganda. It's the real story of how a nation once underestimated is being revalued for its potential, its people, and its principles. You'll hear how geography is turning into opportunity, how technology is replacing dependency, and how diplomacy is finally being shaped by cooperation instead of confrontation. As you listen, don't just hear the facts, feel the shift. Because this is more than Pakistan's moment. It's a lesson for every nation that has ever been told it's too small, too late, or too difficult to rise again. So, stay with me till the end, because by the time this speech concludes, you won't just understand why the world is revaluing Pakistan. Understand what it truly means to turn challenges into global opportunities. Pakistan's geographic position has always been one of its greatest assets, but in 2025, this advantage is being reassessed through a new global lens. Situated at the crossroads of South Asia, Central Asia, and the Middle East, Pakistan is uniquely positioned to serve as a bridge between regions that together account for a significant share of the world's trade, population, and energy resources. For decades, this location was viewed mainly through a security or political perspective. Today, however, it is increasingly seen as a logistical and economic opportunity, one that aligns with the shifting priorities of global trade and energy routes. The revival of transcontinental connectivity projects, particularly the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor CPEC, has transformed Pakistan from a peripheral actor into a central node in new trade dynamics. With the expansion of road, rail, and port networks, Pakistan is not only linking Western China to the Arabian Sea through Gwadar, but also offering potential access to Central Asian states that seek reliable outlets for their energy exports. The proposed extensions of these routes toward Europe through Iran, Turkey, and the Caucasus are under renewed discussion, giving Pakistan a meaningful role in what many call the Eurasian land bridge. Energy security has become another focal point of Pakistan's strategic revival. As Europe diversifies its energy supplies and the Middle East looks for new export pathways, Pakistan's territory offers practical corridors for pipelines, LNG routes, and renewable energy interconnections. This role is being noticed by global investors and policymakers who are seeking alternatives to traditional choke points in maritime trade. The Arabian Sea coastline, particularly Gwadar Port, is emerging as a complementary hub that could connect not just China, but multiple regional economies to African and European markets. Another element strengthening Pakistan's revaluation is the stabilization of surrounding regions. With relative calm in Afghanistan and greater diplomatic engagement between regional powers, Pakistan's location now supports potential cooperation rather than conflict. International organizations and European observers increasingly view the country as a platform for peace-oriented trade rather than a zone of competition. In essence, Pakistan's geography, once a story of strategic vulnerability, is now being reframed as a story of strategic connectivity. Its roads, ports, and borders are being reconsidered, not as boundaries of tension, but as gateways of opportunity, a transformation that is reshaping how the world's power brokers interpret Pakistan's role in the regional and global equation. Pakistan's economic landscape in 2025 is undergoing a quiet but meaningful transformation that is reshaping how global investors and policymakers perceive its potential. For decades, the country's economy was seen largely through the lens of agriculture, textiles, and remittances, stable but limited sectors that left Pakistan vulnerable to global market shifts. Today, a different narrative is emerging, one built on diversification, technology, and innovation. This shift reflects both necessity and vision, as Pakistan moves from a consumption-based economy toward one that values productivity, digital entrepreneurship, and long-term sustainability. In recent years, the government and private sector have accelerated investment in digital infrastructure, encouraging innovation across industries. Pakistan's fast-growing fintech ecosystem is one of the most visible outcomes of this transformation. Startups providing mobile banking, e-commerce, and digital payment solutions are expanding financial inclusion across urban and rural areas, while attracting venture capital from Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. This new digital ecosystem is helping integrate millions into the formal economy, laying the foundation for sustained growth and improved transparency. Another emerging pillar is the renewable energy sector. Facing chronic energy challenges, Pakistan has turned towards solar, wind, and hydropower projects with growing international collaboration. These efforts not only reduce dependence on imported fuels, but also align with global climate goals, a priority shared by European partners and development institutions. The country's vast potential for solar and wind power, particularly in Balochistan and Sindh, has begun to draw attention from green investors seeking sustainable opportunities in developing markets. The technology and innovation push extends into higher education. ION and the startup ecosystem. Universities are developing stronger industry linkages, while the number of incubators and accelerators continues to rise. Pakistani freelancers and software developers are increasingly recognized on global platforms, offering services in artificial intelligence, blockchain, and web development. This digital workforce is positioning Pakistan as a competitive participant in the global knowledge economy. Adding to this momentum is the growing space and satellite technology sector. Initiatives like the HS-1 satellite demonstrate the country's intent to modernize communication infrastructure and explore space research, signaling confidence in science-driven progress. Collectively, these trends represent a deeper change. Pakistan is no longer defined solely by traditional economic models, but by its ambition to integrate technology, sustainability, and human capital into a diversified, forward-looking economy that invites global engagement rather than dependency. In 2025, Pakistan's diplomatic posture is being recognized for its quiet but deliberate shift towards stability, cooperation, and regional balance. For much of its modern history, Pakistan's foreign relations were often shaped by global rivalries and security alignments. However, in recent years, Islamabad has been recalibrating its diplomacy with a focus on fostering regional peace, promoting economic integration, and building trust through dialogue rather than confrontation. This evolution is one of the key reasons why major power centers, particularly in Europe and Asia, are reassessing Pakistan's role as a stabilizing rather than polarizing actor in the region. One visible dimension of this change is Pakistan's effort to strengthen its ties with neighboring countries. Relations with Afghanistan have transitioned from strategic tension to cautious cooperation, centered around border stability, trade facilitation, and refugee management. Similarly, Pakistan's outreach to Iran, the Central Asian republics, and the Gulf states demonstrates a desire to anchor itself in a web of mutual economic interests. These partnerships are increasingly focused on energy connectivity, trade corridors, and cultural diplomacy, reducing the country's reliance on any single power bloc. Pakistan's diplomatic engagement has also matured on the global stage. Rather than pursuing alliances rooted in military dependence, it has diversified its relationships to include trade, technology, and climate cooperation. Dialogue with the European Union now emphasizes green transition and digital innovation, while discussions with China and the United States continue on pragmatic grounds of mutual benefit. This balanced diplomacy is allowing Pakistan to act as a bridge between competing global narratives, maintaining neutrality while promoting dialogue, an approach that resonates well with Europe's preference for peace-oriented engagement. Another aspect of Pakistan's evolving diplomacy is its participat, ION, in regional forums such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, and initiatives linking South and Central Asia. These platforms enable the country to advocate for connectivity, counterterrorism cooperation, and shared development goals. Meanwhile, Pakistan's efforts to de-escalate tensions with India, despite limited breakthroughs, demonstrate a recognition that regional stability is a prerequisite for economic progress. By prioritizing negotiation over confrontation and trade over politics, Pakistan is gradually rebuilding its global image as a country seeking constructive engagement. The world's power brokers are noticing this transformation not through dramatic statements, but through consistent, measured diplomacy that aligns national interests with the broader pursuit of regional peace and cooperation. Pakistan's demographic structure in 2025 stands out as one of its strongest long-term assets, offering the country a rare opportunity to redefine its economic and social trajectory. With more than 60% of its population under the age of 30, Pakistan is one of the youngest nations in the world. This youth majority represents not only a numerical advantage, but also a dynamic force capable of driving innovation, productivity, and global competitiveness. The challenge and opportunity lie in transforming this demographic potential into a skilled, creative, and globally connected workforce that can contribute meaningfully to both national development and international collaboration. Over the past few years, Pakistan's educational and vocational systems have been gradually adapting to the demands of a digital and interconnected economy. Universities and training centers are increasingly emphasizing science, technology, and entrepreneurship, while government-led initiatives are promoting digital literacy across rural and urban areas alike. This focus on skills rather than degrees is helping a new generation of young Pakistanis become more adaptable and employable in global industries. The rise of freelancing, remote work, and online entrepreneurship has further opened doors for millions to engage directly with the international market, bypassing traditional barriers of geography and infrastructure. Pakistan has also become one of the largest contributors to the global freelance economy, particularly in software development, digital marketing, and content creation. This trend reflects not only individual talent, but also a cultural shift towards self-reliance and innovation. The emergence of local tech startups, incubators, and innovation hubs in cities like Lahore, Karachi, and Islamabad has turned youth creativity into viable business ventures. Foreign investors and development agencies are taking note of this transformation, recognizing the potential of Pakistan's young population to serve as both a consumer base and a production force for the future economy. Beyond the economic dimension, Pakistan's youth are also playing a growing role in social innovation, environmental activism, and community development. Their exposure to global communication platforms has nurtured awareness of global issues such as climate change, gender equality, and sustainable living. As a result, they are becoming agents of constructive change at the local level. International observers increasingly view this demographic strength as a stabilizing factor rather than a risk, especially when supported by education, digital inclusion, and employment opportunities. Pakistan's youthful population, if effectively empowered, has the potential to reshape its global image from a developing state to a rising center of human capital and innovation. In 2025, Pakistan's internal security environment has undergone a significant transformation that is altering how global observers assess its long-term stability and reliability as a partner. For years, security concerns shaped much of the world's perception of Pakistan, often overshadowing its social and economic progress. However, a decade of consistent counterterrorism efforts, strengthened governance, and regional cooperation has gradually changed that narrative. The country's steady progress in reducing extremist activity, improving law enforcement capabilities, and reinforcing border management has not only enhanced domestic peace, but also rebuilt international confidence in Pakistan's ability to sustain growth and attract investment. One of the most important shifts has been the institutional strengthening of Pakistan's security apparatus. Through reforms in policing, intelligence coordination, and judicial processes, the country has developed a more effective system for addressing internal threats. Local communities have also become active participants in maintaining peace, supported by awareness campaigns and youth programs aimed at countering radicalization. This combination of top-down and grassroots initiatives has created an environment where security is increasingly viewed as a shared societal responsibility rather than merely a military task. Regional cooperation has further supported Pakistan's security gains. Dialogue and intelligence sharing with neighboring countries, particularly Afghanistan and Iran, have helped curb cross-border militancy and illegal trafficking. The stability of border areas, once major points of tension, has improved through a mix of surveillance technologies, fencing, and community development projects. These practical steps are fostering a sense of mutual trust and reducing the likelihood of conflict spillover, which previously hampered Pakistan's international reputation. Foreign investors and global institutions have taken note of these developments. The decline in terrorism-related incidents and the expansion of secure business zones have made cities like Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad increasingly attractive for international companies. Improved security is also boosting tourism and cultural exchange, allowing Pakistan to reduce itself to the world as a destination rich in history, hospitality, and economic potential. Perhaps most importantly, this progress has shifted global narratives from fear to pragmatism. Pakistan is no longer viewed solely through the prism of its past challenges, but as a nation learning from them and building institutional resilience. The world's power brokers now see a country that recognizes peace as a strategic necessity, one that anchors its progress in stability, governance, and cooperation rather than confrontation or isolation. In 2025, a noticeable shift is taking place in how the international community engages with Pakistan, a move from aid-driven dependency to partnership-based collaboration. For decades, Pakistan's relationship with major global powers and financial institutions was often defined by assistance, loans, and short-term relief programs tied to political conditions. This structure created a perception of imbalance and limited the country's autonomy in shaping its own development agenda. Today, however, changing global dynamics, combined with Pakistan's internal reforms and economic diversification, are encouraging a more equal framework where cooperation is built on shared interests rather than one-sided dependency. This transformation is partly driven by the evolving nature of global economics. As traditional aid models lose relevance and nations seek sustainable partnerships, Pakistan's strategic resources, such as its young workforce, digital growth, and renewable energy potential, are becoming areas of genuine interest for international collaboration. Rather than viewing Pakistan as a recipient, global investors are recognizing it as a participant in new value chains. Initiatives in technology, infrastructure, and clean energy are increasingly structured around joint ventures, co-financing, and skill sharing, allowing Pakistan to benefit from expertise while contributing local capacity. One area where this change is most visible is the energy transition sector. Pakistan's ambition to expand solar and wind energy aligns with a global shift towards sustainability, opening doors to partnerships with European and Middle Eastern firms. These projects are not designed as donations, but as profit-sharing collaborations that advance mutual goals of green growth and carbon reduction. Similarly, in digital infrastructure, international technology companies are working with local startups and government institutions to enhance connectivity and innovation, creating ecosystems that benefit both sides. Diplomatically, this new approach is also influencing policy. Pakistan's engagement with multilateral organizations such as the European Union, ASEAN, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization now focuses more on trade facilitation, education exchange, and regional connectivity rather than financial assistance. The country's leadership has emphasized the principle of self-reliance, presenting Pakistan as an emerging partner capable of contributing solutions to global challenges like climate change, digital inequality, and regional instability. This evolving relationship reflects maturity on both sides. Pakistan striving for sustainable independence and global powers recognizing the benefits of partnership over patronage. It marks a gradual but meaningful redefinition of Pakistan's place in the international system, where collaboration is grounded in equality, respect, and shared progress. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look at Pakistan in 2025, one truth stands out. The world is not merely watching this nation, it is reevaluating it. From its renewed geographic significance to its diversified economy, from diplomatic balance to the rising strength of its youth, Pakistan is no longer defined by its past limitations, but by its future potential. The country's journey from aid to partnership, from instability to opportunity, shows how resilience and reform can change global perceptions without confrontation or noise. What we see today is not a reinvention, but a rediscovery, a recognition that Pakistan's strengths were always there, waiting to align with a world finally ready to look beyond stereotypes. The power brokers of the world are beginning to see a country that does not seek charity, but collaboration, not conflict, but cooperation, not division, but dialogue. This revaluation is not a gift, it is earned through effort, persistence, and the courage to move forward despite every challenge. To the people of Pakistan, this moment is both an honor and a responsibility. The world's renewed attention is an invitation to build stronger institutions, invest in education, empower innovation, and strengthen peace. The choices made today will define not only the country's economic direction, but also its moral and global standing for generations to come. To our friends and partners across Europe and beyond, may this understanding inspire deeper connection and mutual respect. True progress lies not in competing for dominance, but in cooperating for stability and shared prosperity. And finally, to everyone listening, may we all remember that no nation's rise happens overnight. It begins quietly with belief, with reform, with a commitment to peace and progress. Pakistan is standing at that very threshold today. Thank you for listening, for engaging, and for believing in dialogue over division. May the future bring peace, prosperity, and partnership to all. Good luck, and thank you.